What up, my guys? On to another show, man. Late night show, NBA Talk with Jay. Unfortunately, got some stuff going on in the morning, so we're recording at night here, man. I appreciate my guy Shark as well for doing the time change with me. Shark, what's up with you, my guy? Everything cool with you?
Absolutely. Taking a late night breath here. We're going to get into the new day here on the East Coast with you guys. We're glad to be with you here. 11:56 Eastern. I'm sitting in a totally different environment. As you guys know, I'm in Florida. I'm not out back at night. It's a little different environment here. But we're going to go into tomorrow's card. We got Tuesday card. We got a bunch of games to look at. Jay Money, lead the way. I got a couple good looks here. Let's get the conversation going. People in the chat, fire up some picks. Let's discuss and let's ride the goddamn wave, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, they already in the chat going crazy, man. We appreciate everybody for tuning in the chat, man. Let's get some cash. As always, drop your picks, your plays, all that, whatever you're looking at, man. It's all positive vibes here. You see what I'm saying? We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This late night show with us. Let's go ahead and get to it, my guy. First game up. Let's go over here to the streets of Philadelphia here. The cheesesteaks got the Sixers laying 10 points here, Shark at the house versus the Pistons, right? Literally the home and home situation there. We know the Pistons got smoked in that last game. Sixers, I believe that Joel Embiid is questionable in this game. We're not sure if he's going to play or not, but he is questionable. Could possibly come back here. Do you think it matters here, Shark? What will we looking at? Will we looking towards Pistons with revenge, or did the Sixers smack them up once again?
I do think Joel Embiid is a huge factor in this game. We've detailed this numerous times. This team is not very good ATS at home as a favorite without Joel Embiid. Of course, we took Chicago going back last week and whatever, but they're good as a dog and a short favorite. And you and I, of course, had an off-the-record discussion on Sunday afternoon where I said, I want to take Detroit in the revenge game. The line is short, but for whatever reason, this team functions well on the short, nonsensical lines, and the lines that suggest a blowout, they don't. So you get a double revenge game here. You get Detroit coming on the road, as you mentioned, a home-and-home sequence. Theoretical motivation would absolutely be on Detroit. I'm not on anything officially here yet. I do think there's just a bit of a sketchiness going on here. Philadelphia has won 3 in a row against Detroit dating back to last year. And we know Detroit, if Detroit gets hammered by you, they get hammered consistently, especially within the Eastern Conference. Knicks comes to mind as one team who just constantly obliterates them. And as you know, the Celtics play down to them every single time. They're one of those teams that just less zigzag, more consistency. I would want to take Detroit here, double revenge game, as I said, without Joel Embiid. Tough game, though.
Yeah, I would like to take the Pistons. Well, man, I'll tell you. I remember Shark last year, man. He went like on his crazy run, like 6 or 7 games, betting the Pistons in a row. Where they were getting these same type of numbers, and they would lose the game, but they would always play a super scrappy type of game, man. I think that we're gonna do that same thing with the Pistons this year. I'll be honest, man. This roster 1 through 9. I like this Pistons team, man. And that's even without them having Cade Cunningham as well. So I do think they're really building a culture over there, catching double digits here. I'll be honest, like if Joel Embiid comes back here and it goes up to 12, I think this is one of those where the star player comes in and they just play a totally different style of basketball. They had to get used to playing without him. And then if he comes back in this one, then they'll have to get used to playing with him once again. Another reason why they got blown out in the last game, they did sit Jalen Duren as well. He's basically the only real center they have on that team. So yeah, the Sixers just drove into the paint every single time, easy baskets. And like I say, if Duren ended up playing in this one, it could be a lot different because now they have somebody to bang with down low. They've lost the last 3 to the 76ers, including 2 this year, and they've lost 6 out of the last 7 and 8 of the past 10. So they usually get owned by the Sixers, but they are 5-5 against the spread in that stretch as well, or 4-6 against the spread. But usually catching double digits, I kind of feel like they can keep this within 5 or 6, man. Like I say, mainly you'd want Embiid come back in here and mess the things up, and you get a higher number. I lean Pistons here. That's the only way I could look in this one. I think 1 through 9, they can really hang with them. I love Burks, guys like Burks, Diallo coming off the bench, man. This team can really, like, sometimes they can really get up. And sure, we got to think the last game was a letdown as well, wasn't it? Let me see. No, they had lost versus the Spurs, and then come home. They're traveling all over the place, man. Right. But I'm probably not taking it, but I would lean Pistons here.
Yeah.
Chart.
Yeah. No, and we can open up some conversation. Obviously, we are late night here. I believe it is. Is it Tuesday morning? It is Tuesday morning. Happy Tuesday, everybody. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning on the East Coast. We're glad to be with you here. I feel like we're doing a radio live broadcast, but we are streaming over the internet. And, I really do think the key point here is how Philadelphia functions ATS on the north or south side of the number without Joel Embiid. If he plays, the conversation is completely different. But if he doesn't play, I think you can almost auto take the Pistons here because they just don't cover big favorite lines without him. Their only covers their only cover at home without him was actually as a significant underdog against Brooklyn in the second Ben Simmons back to Philadelphia game. So again, not going into crazy detail. You mentioned Jalen Durant, I think, is out tomorrow officially. So they have no big. And
is he out again?
I think so, yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah. And
I'm Stark, Bogdanovich is out as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
I'm not betting this shit. Now, I see Dern kind of questionable, but Bogdanovich, the best player on the team by far. When they sit him, that's not good. But you could get the element of the team overlooking them as well. But Bogdanovich out, I gotta stay off of it. That's for damn sure. I'm off of this one, Char. Let's get to the next one, my brother. Total toss. You got any other thoughts on this one?
No, I agree with you. I mean, we're sitting here chatting it because we want to have a discussion and go through the card, but we are not telling you guys to play this game, just to really emphasize that. We're not playing this game.
Yeah, and you don't even know if Embiid, but yeah, Bogdanovich, I forgot that I saw that earlier. Let's go over here to the streets of Toronto here, man. We got the Raptors laying 7.5 points at the house versus the Hornets, man. The Hornets act like they're trying to play once again, man. It's kind of crazy. I do fully believe this is the worst team in the NBA from top to bottom, but they're starting to play here, man. 2 straight covers. They were winning that game versus the Pacers, and then Pacers really flexed their muscle on their ass, but I was still even surprised to see them come out and take a lead in that game. I was really surprised to see them come out, and I know the Bucks are kind of ass, but 51 points in the first quarter, and they smoked them on their home floor. So what do you think here, Shard? This is their 3rd straight road game, but they've covered the first 2 basically with ease in this one. With the Raptors as well, we know that they're due to come up playing lackluster ball for a while. This is their 4th straight home game, and this is the first of a little home and home as well. These 2 teams will play again the next game. Do you think that the Raptors can smack up the Hornets here?
It's a great question. And this is a tough game as well. I mean, as you mentioned, Charlotte has turned a corner, if you will. This team was an absolute disaster for, 30-plus ball games. But since then, particularly on the road, they've been very good. I'm looking at my notes here. But Charlotte is 3-0 ATS last 3 in a row. As you mentioned, 2-0 on this road trip. Both very competitive games against very representative opponents. I mean, you blow out Milwaukee, and then theoretically you're going to let down. No, you come back and you cover against the Pacers, who are very upstart. And they are 6-2 last 8 ATS on the road. Toronto's obviously been an absolute grease fire disaster. The line did not tell you a story with these teams last year. Obviously, you mentioned it, and it is kind of crazy, the cliff dive that both of these teams have gone. I was looking at this game when I capped it before. Toronto finished the season last year 48-34, 14 over with a very similar roster. Total cliff dive. And Charlotte last year was right around 500 most of the season with a lot of really representative wins. They were playing teams real tight in the East last year. Total cliff dive for both teams. Kind of hard to figure out, of course, Charlotte with all sorts of injuries and roster ambiguity game to game, which is what has plagued them more often than not. Toronto is the one that it's just more mind-boggling why this team is just so poor right now. I would lean Charlotte if I had to take a free play in this game. Can't say I love the game, though.
Yeah, I don't love this game, guys. I'll be honest. I wouldn't be. It's crazy because I wouldn't be. Usually, I'll tell you right now. When I wouldn't be surprised which result happened, I stay off the game every single time. Could the Raptors keep it going? They finally got off the schneid, if you will, in the last game versus the Blazers, and they would win by double digits, a wire to wire cover, right? But like say the way that the Hornets are playing, I just don't really sense that. Like, because for a while they were acting like they didn't give a damn. See what I'm saying? And I don't really sense that anymore. They act like they actually trying to play here now, man. So the past couple games, it's kind of telling me that we might be trying to buy the Hornets here. I know it's a few too many points for me to lay with the Raptors. I know that they got a win last game, but that was the Blazers. This Hornets team, they may not play a ton of defense, but offensively they are somewhat elite, especially if LaMelo and Terry Rozier are hitting threes. This, you know what I'm saying? This team can somewhat ball over there. We know the Raptors like to play super sticky defense, but the offense is not really it's not a well-oiled machine, in my opinion. I think they were just catching the Blazers at the right time. So really, like, if the Hornets come out there playing fast, they might play too fast for the Raptors in this one, like just their style of basketball. I think that's something to pay attention to. Just certain teams don't do well versus these guys that like to run at this helter-skelter type of pace. You know what I'm saying? Like the Pacers as well. Sharp, what do you think about that? You think the Hornets might just have too fast a pace for the Raptors here?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I would lean Charlotte in this game, and I do think it is that. I mean, again, this is the craziness of NBA basketball where you can't necessarily just categorically put a team into a box and say that's who they are because teams do have horrible months or maybe
Mhm.
even 6 to 8 weeks. And particularly as I said before, but with roster movement, all sorts of players in and out, principal players. And as you said, their pace is relentless and they played effective basketball last year. I mean, that's the thing that people quickly forget. Almost, I mean, very, very similar roster last year. Played very effective, right around 500 ball for most of the season. So this is expected. And sometimes it just takes a long time for a team to get it figured out and get their players back, not only into the rotation, but into some sort of on court flow with each other. And I agree with you. It's pace, it's shot quality, and it's field goal percentage. All are completely on the uptick here. So, yeah, I mean, again, free play, I would take the 7.5 here. I think that the Raptors are just really not in the competitive environment to cover the spread, really.
No, that's facts right there, man. Yeah, would lean Hornets, but probably not some super strong that I was like, all right, let's go to the window with this. Not super, super strong, to be honest with you. Let's go over here to the streets of Miami here, man. We got the Heat land 4.5 points versus the OKC Thunder here, Shark. I was reading earlier this morning that basically the Thunder are right there in the middle. They're right there in the middle of trying to like go for the playoffs or go for the tank, what they've been doing the past few years. So they're right there in the middle. I feel like if they keep winning, they might just try to go for a playoff push, even though they lost Chet Holmgren for the year here. We know the Heat been playing somewhat lackluster ball. They're only 6-13-1 against the spread at the house, man. Can't believe this Heat team. They're so up and down. Has started to play a lot better. Covered 4 of the last 5 games. Obviously dropped that game versus the Nets and they'll win. Sharp, what do you think about this one?
Tough game. I think the line is very, very tight. You saw how Miami played in Oklahoma City. They won by 2 points, and they were laying 2.5 points. It was right there. I mean, it was just a super tight game. I think this is going to be a tight game, but I would lean towards Oklahoma City here if I had to. I do think when you take on the revenge element, of course, we talk about this sometimes. There is a revenge ATS element, and people always say, Shark, the guys don't think about ATS. I'm not talking about their motivation to cover the spread. I'm talking about just pure statistical normalization where what you don't cover, you should cover on a 50-50 scale. It's all numbers in terms of the graphing of it. So Miami theoretically should come up in terms of the ATS efficiency in this matchup. But I do think the revenge element for a gritty young roster does supersede that statistical element. And you start to really go through Oklahoma City specifically at the Southeast. They have functioned incredibly well on these numbers. They're actually 2-0 ATS, getting almost the identical number. At Washington early season, I had to play officially. They did win outright 121-120. They were plus 4.5 there. And then at Atlanta, another win, 121-114. Again, very similar score, plus 5.5. So now you're in the same division, same thing, revenge game as well. I'm not on it yet, but I'm talking myself into Oklahoma City here.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there. Does it worry you that they only played two road games in their past 10 games? They've been playing a ton of home games lately. The past 2 are on the road. I know that they were different, but against on the East as well, they lost versus Charlotte and they lost versus Magic. Now, I'll be honest, I think those were kind of both of those games were my tank theory games. I believe I did take the Hornets and the Magic in both of those games. But like I say, with them being in the middle, like I say, this is not strong enough for me to take the Heat here, to be honest with you. But I was just wondering, do you think like with the Thunder only playing 2 road games in the last 10, do you think that comes to play here?
No, I don't. And I think also when you look at the Orlando game, I believe they were in a fatigue spot when they played at Orlando. It might have been a
They
back to
were.
back.
They
Right.
were.
They get full rest here, which I think is crucial. And I also think, again, if you look at the psychology of these games, Atlanta is not an old team, but they kind of play old from the standpoint of motivating. Like I talked about this with Memphis. Memphis is a young group of guys under 25 that purely want to annihilate people. And they want to annihilate guys from their generation. Usually when teams tank to young teams, it's older guys that just don't care. Atlanta plays like they're all 35 and they just don't care. So that's where you get the Atlanta cover. Washington's the same way, slightly older, but Orlando obviously extremely young. Charlotte, weird motivation. So I think the reason why they didn't cover at Orlando, one, it was a revenge game. Orlando had lost in Oklahoma City prior. Two, Orlando is upstart, scrappy, and young in this generation where they compete. Miami fits the mold of Washington and Atlanta. I think that's also why you see the line identical basically to the Atlanta and Washington line. I think they will function on that. And We've talked about this numerous times going through this season already. This season for me with Miami reminds me of a couple seasons ago after they went to the finals in the bubble and they came out and they were terrible through more than half of the season. And then they really turned it up the last 25 games to get us seeding in the playoffs. Obviously, last year, Game 7, Eastern Conference Finals, Boston, this is the same thing for them. They've come out really lackluster. But again, you got to remember, we're not even halfway through the season. So I think this team is just coasting, and I think they're going to turn up. But I think it might come after game 55. Like 55 through 82, they're going to start to really play some ball. And one final point, just real quick. I was looking at the injury report. Kyle Lowry's not playing in this game. And Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero are both questionable. So I think you gotta wait on that as well.
That's a good point, yeah. Because Hero, Bam Adebayo, he keep hurting his hand. Last game versus the Nets, he was questionable and it's possible not going to play, and he hurt his hand once again. I remember after a dunk, he dunked and he kept shaking his hand. So just let me see real quick. I'm pretty sure that's probably why he's on here. Adebayo, yeah, wrist.
Yeah,
I don't think he's gonna play, bro. You make a good point there, Char. Where this is an older team when you look at guys, even Jimmy Butler as well. Jimmy, he's not young anymore. He's not like 25. You see what I'm saying? So you got Jimmy Butler, obviously Haslam, his old ass, he the oldest player in the league, but Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, this is a bit of an older team, man. They got guys in that line. They don't really have a power forward. Caleb Martin is their power forward. He's still questionable as well with a quad. I don't think he played last game. Tyler Hero, yeah, they might be just kind of throwing away this game. Or if they definitely don't take it as serious, the Thunder definitely probably sneak in there and beat their ass, man, for real. Because it's, like I say, if you're not taking the Thunder serious, they can beat you guys. They can beat you. So let's see. Let's look at it like this, Shark. They just come off a road trip. They took the loss versus the Nets. They covered 4 of the last 5, but they got a 2 games back to back versus the Bucks Knicks. Yeah. They might drop this one, and we might have to look towards the Heat next game versus the Bucks in a revenge spot as well. Yeah, they got the Bucks on January 12th.
All right, yeah, I'm looking at it now. I missed that. That's so yeah. That is that the dogs hanging out?
No. My damn green screen. I'm rolling up on the green screen. They've been finna fall.
Okay, yeah. So I got it here. So yeah, you're right. This is a total sandwich game. They got Suns road win, come home, play the Nets real tough and cover as a short dog, real tight on a bucket line there. And then they get the Thunder randomly. They already beat the Thunder, and then they get Bucks twice, and then the Hawks. And the Bucks game, yeah, I mean, this is a total trap spot. This is a brutal spot for Miami. Brutal.
And let's see. Hold on real quick, because I think that they put this shit on. I think that this game is on national TV as well, man. So let me just see. Huh? No, it's not. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, TNT game.
Oh, wow.
Okay. OKC might turn up here. Wow. They never get national TV games. Never. Yeah.
Wow.
Insane. They might have to. I can only look towards the Thunder here. I know that they're not as strong on the road, but this could be a turn-up spot here. And this team does play some good defense as well on the perimeter. They don't really have anybody inside, but guess what? The Heat don't really have bigs either. They're trying to shoot a ton of threes. Victor Oladipo, Tyler Hero and the guys, they're trying to outshoot you from 3. They don't have Duncan Robinson right now. We might have to get there with the Thunder here, plus the 4.5. I think that's the spot. I think that even though it's a TNT game, you're not getting up for the Thunder, especially now when you have the Bucks on deck. This is a terrible sandwich spot here. So I think the Thunder plus the 4.5. Here, us talking it out. I think that's the sign here. They should win this game outright. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And then we take the Heat next game versus the Bucks.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, this is where you draw it up in the sandwich spot. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. You get Suns, Brooklyn, then you get the Thunder, and then you get Milwaukee twice, and then Atlanta. I mean, come on, this is really brutal. And, really just summing up this game, I do think finalizing, really, when you look at Oklahoma City against Atlanta and Washington on the same number and both outright wins, it's just telling you a numerical story as to how they function at this point as a numerical point in the division. I think this is a great look, and I don't have the hat, of course, and I'll be looking at this maybe tomorrow afternoon, but I think it's a really good initial look here.
I'm taking Thunder plus the 4.5, guys. I don't think that the way that I saw Bam shaking his hand last game, I'm talking about giving it a ton of attention. They probably give Bam a rest game because he's been going bunkers for him at that. They kind of rest him up. They got 2 games versus Milwaukee up, then a division game versus the Hawks. This is a horrible spot for the Heat, in my opinion. The Thunder don't play as good at the house. I mean, on the road, but the Heat, they're not really good at covering spread. I'm taking Thunder plus the 4.5, guys. That just is what it is. Let's go over here to the next game. Let's go to the streets of Utah here, man. We got the Jazz getting 3.5 points at the house. The Donovan Mitchell return game to Utah here. Obviously, it doesn't mean as much. Gobert's not over there, but what do we do here, Shark? Because I mean, I'm kind of back and forth with this one. I'll be honest. At first, I'm kind of thinking Jazz here, but they were down 2 important players, Kelly Olynyk and Colin Sexton. You want everybody that got traded from the Cavs to be playing for the Jazz here with peak motivation. Marketing is always liable to go off, but you're not getting those easy buckets inside with Jared Allen down there. I can tell you that. Cavs aren't as strong on the road, but we know that when players go and play their own team, they're telling their guys, "Hey, look, guys, I really want this game, right?" We're not losing this shit, but what do you think? The Jazz gonna be turned up as well. So I think this is a really sneakily tough game here.
Yeah, I mean, forget sneakily. I think this is an incredibly tough game. I was actually talking about this with the Philly Sharp off the air, and I was telling him I thought this is the sharpest line on the entire board. And I think Cleveland probably wins this game somewhere between 2 and 6 points. I would lean Utah, however. A couple things going on here. Of course, you get the Utah revenge game. And you go back to that game, of course, Donovan Mitchell, first game versus home team, his old team, huge motivation and energy. And you really look at that game. That game was a bizarre shooting outlier. And we seem to keep talking about this because this is contemporary basketball. Sometimes a team will just not miss. And they're not necessarily playing that much better or have that much more defensive energy or anything. They're just shooting the same shots they shoot every single game, but they're hitting 60%. And in that game, I looked at it before, ridiculous. Cleveland only shot 70 field goals. They made 43 of them. It was 61% from the field to get to 122 points. It's hard to get to 122 points only shooting 70 times. Mm-hmm. Utah lost the game by 23 points, and they had 23 more field goal attempts. Utah in that game was 36 for 93. Weird stuff here to lose the game by 23 points, but shoot 23 more field goals than the opponent. That's insane stuff. And you really start to go through Utah. We faded Utah correctly early season 3 different times. We were 2 official and off the record 1, but we had the Knicks to come in there and beat them, and we had the Bulls to come in there and beat them, and they also lost outright to Detroit. And the key point was they were all home game 1 coming home off a road trip against an Eastern opponent. And this is the same thing. But I think the key point is since then, they are 1-1 ATS. They got walked off against Miami, which was a non-cover. They did cover against Washington. And I do think if you look at Utah's in kind of Cleveland. Cleveland's in a funky spot here. They're in the 3rd game of a 5-game Western trip. They're coming off a big effort, and then they have another big game next. Not to say this isn't a big game, but inherently psychologically, when you already beat a team in recent history by 23 points, it's not as big of a game. I don't love the game. You said it. It's sneakily. It's very, very hard to figure out. I do lean towards Utah, however, here.
Yeah, no, this is Utah's role. Catching points at the house. Remember, we don't want to lay points with Utah ever, especially not on the road, but maybe even at the house. This team is a different team at the house. They get behind their home crowd. Guys, some teams really feed off the home crowd energy, and that's what the Jazz do, especially when they're hitting their threes. Would really like to have Sexton here, man, but I must say I can't say the only way because I do know that the Cavs are the better team. I do know that they have some matchup. They can match up really well versus this Jazz team. It's just we've seen the Cavs not be the same team on the road as well. That's what really kept me off of it. It's like I can't lay the points with the Cavs here. Would I be surprised if they got it done? No, but I think I'd be more surprised if the Jazz didn't ball out here at the house. They are coming off losing 2 straight, and they've lost 7 out of the last 8 games. I wouldn't be surprised if Utah turned up here. I don't love the spot, but it's a huge game, right? Mitchell coming back to Utah, but that is a good point, Shark, is the fact that he already beat them once and at the house as well. So it's not as much as a revenge, but I still know that he wants to go in Utah and play well. Maybe look at some Mitchell. It's a tough game for me. I could understand the lean to the Jazz, but I could really see it going either way, so I'm not playing it. But I wouldn't be surprised. Jazz plus a 3.5 at the house. it's probably like a razor sharp type of look. I can't tell you the public will probably be heavily to the Cavs here. That might have me to the Jazz. It's a good one. I'm glad we're talking it out. I lean Jazz, but maybe not enough to talk. I'm gonna sleep on it, man. That's all I like to say. I'm gonna sleep on it here. Let's get over here to the streets of the Golden State here, man. The Warriors. I say my guy Sharks, his squad, but it's nothing bad. It's your squad, man. It's nothing wrong with it, man. But this might be my squad today too. God damn me. I think they finna trifecta spot these Suns. Suns 1-9. Straight up last 10 games here, Shark. Steph Curry is coming back as well. He's back. He's one player where I don't really think he'll mess up the flow because he knows how to defer to the other guys, right? It's not like he has the ball in his hand a ton of time. He's shooting threes or he's passing the ball. But I think, remember, you was talking about the Warriors are kind of waiting for Steph to get back. They dropped the past 2 games. This is their 7th straight game of a homestand. They got their guy back. The energy is going to be high in the building, Shark. What are we doing, man? Are the Dubs going to turn up here?
I would like to think so. It's just there's a lot of moving parts. And again, we're having an initial conversation here. You mentioned it. Phoenix has been awful. And of course, losing Devin Booker, I think the roster tomorrow, or I should say today here on the East Coast, shout out to you guys on the West Coast, still in Monday. Beautiful time zone gap here. But, this roster that Phoenix is putting on the floor potentially on Tuesday is really, really borderline. I mean, I don't want to call these guys G League because they're professional basketball players, but they're not playing any of their starters, it appears. I think most of their guys are on the injury report. And, we said it the other night when we took Orlando, this is a bottom out point for the Dubs because they have a look ahead to Phoenix. It's a huge game on their calendar. They've already gotten hammered twice against Phoenix. They gave up 130 points twice on the road, 134 to 105 early on this year. And another one, I believe, 130 to 119 or something like that. But no defense. And you guys follow the Warriors just as much as us. They've had real trouble on the road defending. No closeouts, no energy. And Steph's talked about it. Steve Kerr's talked about it. It's just a new roster in a lot of ways. A lot of young guys getting a lot more minutes than they were last year, and a couple new guys on the roster as well. And they just haven't really played defense. And this is absolutely a dub spot. I haven't gotten there yet. I'm still waiting for lineups, obviously. And tomorrow afternoon, I think there will be some movement there. Steph coming back, as you mentioned, the system is so sustained there. They're not going to have growing pains. The only thing that I would worry about would be more so Steph not shooting the basketball very well. But I don't think that necessarily gets in the way of a cover. I don't necessarily love early only because if Steph's in there not shooting well, that could just be a variant point in the first quarter. You want the bigger sample rather than the small sample when there's variance involved. And I think the line at -9.5 is telling you an extreme story. It's telling you a Dubs story. I'm not there yet, but I do think Dubs are the side here.
I want to take I'm right there with you. It's the reason why I'm gonna stay off the first quarter as well, because it could mess up. And what I've seen from the Suns, if they do try to come out and avenge some losses, the losses they're on, they'll try to come out with some. At least that's what they did versus Cleveland. But guess what? It didn't matter, guys. The team they don't have enough scoring. They don't have a point guard with Campaign and Chris Paul out, right? So you're already out Booker. They're already struggling, even with Payne and CP3 in. I just kind of feel like once CP3 went down, they kind of like, fuck, man. Damn, what are we gonna do, right? We already was kind of fighting with each other. Now our top 2-3 guys are out. Now then you see Aiden on the injury report. You see Aiden on there, you see Shamit, you see Torrey Craig, and then you see that they have a game versus the Nuggets the next day. Let me see, I think it's a revenge spot as well versus the Nuggets the next day. Regardless, this team is absolutely falling apart. I know me personally, I'm not going anywhere near Suns. I'm only looking to fade them. Maybe when they start to get their guys back, but I'm not even sure then. They're really starting to fall off a cliff. When I just take the podcast for Action Network, took the Warriors in the first half, so I have to take that. I'm pretty sure I'll be on Warriors first half full game here. I think this game is basically a telltale of the Lakers and the Nuggets game that we just cast the trifecta with today. I know that the full game got kind of sweaty or whatever, but that was for the late bettors, not us at the early lines. But Warriors 7 straight home game. I see the threes falling as well. In the last game, they rested Clay at the last second as well. I see the threes falling. I see the Splash Brothers going crazy in this one. I don't think the Suns have nowhere near enough offense to keep up on this one. And when their offense ain't going well, the defense drops off the cliff as well. I think they get smoked by 20 points in this one, and then maybe start to look. Yeah, they lost in overtime the last game versus Denver. This Suns team is falling off a cliff, man. Give me the Warriors in the first half, and I'll probably be taking the full game as well in this one, my guys. Triple revenge spot for the Warriors, and coming off to a couple of same season revenge as well, October 25th and November 16th, where they got smoked up on the road. Yeah, revenge game, Jay, in this one, man. I still lean first quarter as well, though, to be honest with you. I think it's a trifecta spot, but Warriors first half, full game for me, Shark. Let's go over here to your spot. Blazers land 7.5 at the house versus the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, top play on the card for me, Portland Trailblazers. We're dropping it officially now, minus 7.5, 1.25 units. Slight unit upgrade. We're not going nuts here, but taking a breath as we're 30 minutes into this broadcast, and it is the top level. And what we're looking at here, Portland is in the spot you want to buy. And, Jay talked about it the other day. We'll talk about it now. Portland has played an uncanny amount of road games in the last month. They've played 10 road games versus only 2 home games. And in that period of time, however, they have functioned very well at home, and maybe not coincidentally, against young lottery Eastern opponents. Those 2 home games were against Charlotte, a cover on minus 5.5, 124-113, and Detroit on a strong 9.5, 135-106. You get the Magic here on the third game of a Western trip, very similar to what we said about the Cavaliers. Road, back-to-back, 3rd and 4 with travel from California to the Pacific Northwest. And a very interesting point here with Orlando. I believe Orlando is getting blown out right now. When we started the broadcast, they were getting blown out right now. I actually said to myself before the game tonight, I want them to get blown out. And that might seem counterintuitive because usually you want them to play well and then let down. But I looked at their back-to-back schedule on the road. Interesting stuff. They've had 3 road back-to-backs this year. They were all against the East, but it was very interesting. November 18th and 19th, cover at Chicago. Very next night, cover at Indy. December 2nd and 3rd, at Cleveland, non-cover. At Toronto, non-cover. And then December 16th and 17th, at Boston, cover. And then at Atlanta, cover. So key point here is, if they cover the first leg, they continue momentum into the second leg. They're 2-0 in those spots. If they don't cover the first leg, they're bottoming out. It's a telltale sign. And I think the line is telling you a very good story here. Last year, with Portland having most of their backups and G League fringe players in the game, Orlando went into Portland last year in the most recent matchup. Orlando was actually favored in that game on the road, which is pretty incredible stuff. And Orlando did hammer them 113-95. So now you get a -1 Orlando blowout, same gym next year with roster adjustments. Key point, books are telling you a big-time story here. 8.5-point gap. It's exactly where Portland turns up. They play these teams very well. I mentioned Charlotte and I mentioned Detroit, but if you go even further back, blowout against a young-paced Indiana team, blowout against a young-paced Houston team. Only non-cover against a young lottery-style team was San Antonio, and they got backdoored. 117, 110, and a 7.5. It was a hook. This should be a blowout. We're on it for 1.25 units. Official, -7.5. Portland, Trailblazers, turn the hell up at home. Let's go.
Man, they might smack them up as well, man. Blazers coming off a little brief 3-game road trip, but it's nowhere near the same when you lost every game on the road trip. At that point, you can't wait to get back to the house in front of your home crowd, bring that energy to propel you to a win. You see what I'm saying? I couldn't talk you off, man. Like I said, I just did the podcast. My guy AC liked this as well. He basically said this the same thing, that hey, this is a bottom out spot for the Magic here. 30 game in 4 nights, all on the road on the West Coast as well. Playing, like I said, guys, just think about it, playing these super late night games, man. They're probably sleepy by the time the game even freaking starts, guys. It just got smoked 136-111 in Nelwyn, guys. Damn, I should have I called 6 spots in that game. Only took 2 of them, but the Magic team total under trifecta almost cashed. Lost the first quarter, but first half full game cashed. The team total under, and the Kings cashed the trifecta with ease. Man, I had a feeling this shit was gonna happen. Got to start going my gut, man. I might have might start having like 8 plays a day, my guys. But yeah, I definitely could only take the Blazers here. Fire blaze them. I think they gonna roll up these Magic and smoke them. This gonna be the Magic gas that the Blazers smoking tomorrow. Sorry, I definitely like it. Blazers. I see a double-digit win, man. I'll have to ride with you on this one. I see Blazers early and often, to be honest with you. Let's go over the last game up here. Let's go over to the streets of LA here, man. We got the Clippers going up against the Mavs here, Shark. My Mavs team. Even though I'm not in Dallas, it's still my squad, man. But I'll be honest, man. I don't sense the same from the Mavs this year, Shark. They're not as strong. We know that them and the Clippers are always gonna have bad blood, right? But what's going on with the Clippers, bro? Are they gonna bounce back here? What's going on with them?
I think so. And this is my second play. I'm not dropping it official yet because the line is actually coming towards Dallas. So I think we might get a better line for the Clippers in the afternoon. But the Clippers are in a very similar position to the Blazers. They've had a ton of road games recently. In their last 9 games, they've played 7 on the road and only 2 at home. And of course, a lot of moving roster parts. But this team hasn't played back-to-back home games since December 12th and December 14th, basically a month. And we talk about this with every single team. When you have a lot of road games, that's difficult in and of itself. But the home games become just as difficult when they're one-offs going back on the road. They're basically another road game. You're never playing consistency in the same gym. And again, this team hasn't played back-to-back home games in a month. This is the first time in a while off a loss to Atlanta in home game 1, which could have been the sharp side there for sure. And you really get a spot to fade the Mavericks on a very strong numerical point for the Clippers. Go back to early season. Dallas did win, not cover, 113-111, I believe it was, or 103-101, one of the two, in Dallas on a Dallas minus 6.5. We talk about this all the time. Stock neutral line movement should be 6.5 to Dallas, still favored, 3.5 on the road. This is a 10.5 gap. This is what I said about a game earlier today. This is a championship gap. This is where the Clippers come in here, L6 straight up. Kawhi's playing. They're going to be pissed off. Revenge game. Just got their ass kicked by Atlanta. 6 in a row. They're finally getting back-to-back home games. I will be on this tomorrow afternoon. My second best look of the board is the Clippers on what will be Tuesday evening in LA.
No one's gonna like this, Shark. I can tell you that, and that means it's definitely gonna cash here as well. And people are gonna look at the Lakers. They already in the chat. They already on it. Talking about they trade, and I know they've been playing bad basketball, guys, but they are favored here. And when a team has become off of the 6-game lose streak like that, and they're favored, that tells you everything you need to know. Now the line is probably coming down because Luka was out in the last game. We know it was a rest game. Now he'll probably get ruled in, but now this is something that happened with the Clippers game, Shark. They still have Luka as questionable. I don't know why. So yeah, if you want the Clippers here, you wait until the last. If you want the Mavs, guys, we always tell people go with your gut. If you do like the Mavs, you probably want to take them right now. Luka is gonna play in this game, and the line is gonna go down. But the only way they almost came back versus the Hawks, Shark. I think it was really indicative of where the Clippers are about to go. Maybe they might go on a little run here. They were down, they were getting smoked by the Hawks, and that one came all the way back, took the lead, I believe, by 5 or 6 points, and then ended up running out of gas. They had to spend a lot of energy, but they can kind of bring some of the momentum from the second half into this game here. I can tell you right now with the Mavs, if you shut down Luka or even stifle him, start double teaming him, they don't have Brunson this year to build them out. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dinwiddie are some ballers, guys, but Brunson was like a whole nother point guard out there for him. Dinwiddie and THJ are not a pure point guard. That's why Brunson works so well, because he could really run the show, guys. So they're really missing Brunson. I feel like the Mavs, they can still make a deep run in the playoffs, but you got to try to get some type of backup point guard, in my opinion. I know they tried to get Kemba Walker, they let him go. I think the Mavs dropped this game. I think they were red hot as well. It's the polar opposite here. The Mavs have won 8 of the last 10, Shark, and the Clippers lost 6 in a row. Why are they favored here? I agree with the Clippers here, and I'll be perfectly honest, guys. I was already had scheduled to get a haircut tomorrow. You see what I'm saying? I have to. It was preordained like 5-6 days ago for me to get a haircut. I guess I have to ride with my guy Shark here on the Clips, man.
Oh yeah, and I think maybe not coincidentally, the chat has developed into a nice little barber shop chat, and guys evaluating our haircuts here. So yes, guys. We like the hair.
I know I need a fade, man. But let's get Let's go. Nah, I'm finna go out of town, man. I already know I got to get a haircut tomorrow. So, you dig what I'm saying? But let's get over here to some picks, man. That's enough. We've been in here 40 minutes. That's enough, Shark. What you liking on tomorrow's card, my brother?
Yeah, no, and just one remark I wanted to make regarding what you said about the Clippers about to go on a run. This
Mhm.
is what you want when you're handicapping sports. You want the best teams to be lackluster. So we're looking at the league right now, right? You get the Dubs, Steph coming back. The Suns have been ass. The Clippers have been terrible, and Miami's been terrible. You have deep playoff teams that have all been terrible. There's going to be so many buy elements. This is where you really are going to start to make money when you get the best teams off of losing streaks where they're going to turn up. We got the Clippers, will be official tomorrow afternoon. My top play, Portland minus 7.5, 1.25 units. Definitely looking at the Dubs with significance. We might get there tomorrow afternoon as well. And I do think Oklahoma City, as Jay said, sneakily and maybe inevitably becoming a top play in the afternoon. But thanks, guys, in the chat. Sending you guys all the positive vibes. I know some people have been all over the place energy-wise. We love all of you. Sending you guys big-time vibes. Jay Money, love this late night show. We got to do this more often. And close them out, and let's go.
Man, this late night show is the vibe, man, and I think it gets you thinking more purely as well. Like you wake up, you already know what you like. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, man, we about to go on a run, man. My guy Shark is he's getting hot again, man. He's getting hot. But this is what we do, man. This is lifestyle shit, man. If you want to get a shirt, man, use promo code We Will Win over at the site jmoneyismoney.com. I'll tell you right now, this is what I'm hopping on, guys. I didn't think I was gonna have this many plays, guys, but this is what I'm hopping on, man. I already knew that I was taking the Warriors in the first half. That one should be somewhere around -6. It should be somewhere around -6. I know I'm taking it as soon as it comes up on the book. I still like the full game as well, -10. I think they finna smoke these guys, man. They got smoked 2 times in Phoenix when they had their guys. Now the Warriors got all their guys, and they're at the house. 7 straight road game off 2 straight losses. Get their guy Curry back. The energy is going to be high in the building. I think the Warriors actually going to catch the trifecta, but I will take Warriors in the first half -6, full game -10, might be a few 9.5s out there. I'd lean Jazz +3.5. I'm taking Thunder plus the 4.5. I got to go back and look to see when they've even had another, when there's their last national TV game. Some tells me they turn up here. Some tells me that Adebayo sits this game out as well. And in their first game, he was the main matchup problem for the Thunder down low. Obviously, if they don't have Adebayo and have to start Deadman or something, the Thunder will run the Heat off the floor, in my opinion. They definitely have some top-tier defense. I guarantee you, SJ, like, man, we on TNT, guys. Let's turn up here. I like the Thunder plus the 4.5. I'm playing that right after the show. Warriors first half and full game. And I'm going to ride with the Clippers. I already got to get a haircut. My guy Sharp likes it. Everything sets up well for it. I know that the Mavs are due to drop some. They're even though they're 8-2 straight up last 10, they're 1-5, 1-4 against the spread in their last 6 games. This is not the same Mavs team of last year as well, and they're a little bit different on the road here. I'd be very surprised if the Clippers didn't get it done. Not playing the 4, guys. We're gonna wait till Luka gets announced in. With Paul George is out as well. This one might go down to 1.5 too, in my opinion. That's when you hop on the Clippers. I could see the whole world being on the Mavs here. I think they get their teeth kicked in this one, guys. Let's get some cash, man. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. That's my guy Shark. Go follow him on Twitter at Sharks in Sports 88. You can follow me as well at J Money's Money. Let's get this cash, my guys. We will win, guys. Yeah. Hit the like button.